this over to see because Dad apparently kept running into the piano last week. So he's got a tendency to bear to the right. So I kind of give him a little more room to bear to the right. So hopefully that'll work. I hate to see him clothesline himself under that piano because that's about where it hits me. But this morning, the Lord's given me a topic for just a little while. The title of my sermon this morning is I Go. Now, before you criticize my literacy, my usage of vocabulary there, I know that that's not correct. But if you've ever been around Samson very long, that's words, those two words are words that he uses very often. I go. He's asleep, he'd probably repeat it. But he uses those words so frequently, God's allowed me to use them in the sermon. Samson wants to go all the time. If he finds out that you're going somewhere, the first words out of his mouth is, I go. If you say, I'm going to McDonald's, I go. I'm going to church, I go. I'm going to Nana's, I go. I'm going to work, I go. I'm going to rob a bank, I go. I'm going to jail, I go. That's just the way he is. He wants it so bad it doesn't matter where you're going. He wants to go. Give you an example a couple of months ago. Has anybody ever just been hungry and nothing in the house would satisfy that hunger? Anybody ever been that way? All right. Well, for the rest of you here, that's happened to me before. It happened a couple months ago. Went into the pantry and looked around. It's a game that me and Abby play. What do you want for supper tonight? I don't know what we got. Did Mary do that? I'm not playing this game, she says. But anyway, this was after a Sunday night. I walked into the pantry and there wasn't anything in there that looked good to me. And I thought, I'm going to the DQ. I'm a grown boy. I want a cheeseburger. Abby probably won't like that idea since we just went to the store and spent a bunch of money yesterday. But you know what? I'm a big boy. I don't have to ask her permission. If I want a cheeseburger, I'll go to the store and get a cheeseburger. So after I went into the bedroom and asked her if it was okay that I went, Sam heard me say that, and he looked up and said, I go? But Sam's always wanting to go, but if you got your Bibles, it's just a cute little story. I thought that was at first. There was Sam. Matthew chapter 16. We're going to start reading verse 24. We're going to read through verse 26. Matthew chapter 16, verse 24 through verse 26 is what we're going to read. And it says, Then Jesus said unto his disciples, If any man will come after me, let him deny himself, and take up his cross and follow me. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it, and whosoever will lose his life for my sake shall find it. For what is a man profited, if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? What shall a man give in exchange for his soul? You say, well, Micah, what's he really telling his disciples here? Well, he's giving them the definition of what it takes to be a disciple. He's giving them a definition of what it's going to take to follow him. First of all, he tells us that we're going to have to deny ourselves. You say, Micah, what does that mean? What does that mean to deny ourselves? It requires us to give up anything that will hinder us from being in the will of God. It requires us to give up whatever it is in our lives that's keeping Him from being a priority in our lives, the number one priority. It's denying of ourselves, denying of our own ones for His one. Denying of our wishes for His wishes. Denying our will for His will. The second thing He tells there His disciples is to take up your cross. You say, Michael, what does that mean? Well, the cross, if you look at it in Bible times, is basically the same thing. It wasn't just a piece of jewelry or something like it is. It's the same thing as an electric chair or something today. That was the way of death. What does the cross symbolize, you say? Well, it was a symbolic thing for death. And for Jesus, it was a symbolic thing of sacrifice. See, death, the symbolic thing of death, it was dying out to ourselves, dying out to our own desires. 1 Corinthians, Paul said that he had to die out daily. It was a daily thing for him. It's dying out to the old man. Dying out to the way that we once were. Dying out to the things that we once desired. Dying out to the things that are not of God. You see, that taking up that cross means that we're dying out of our flesh and living for Him. We're dying out of our own desires and living for Him. I'm not saying that we can't enjoy some of the things that we may have enjoyed before we become a Christian. People want to put so many restrictions on becoming a Christian, and they make it harder than what it is, right? We try to change ourselves before we ask Him into our lives. Has anybody ever tried that? I think everybody that before they got saved has tried some way of fixing themselves, fixing their own selves, before turning their lives over to Christ. Let me tell you, folks, it's a whole lot easier if you give your life to Him and let Him change you from the inside out. Amen. It's a whole lot harder to change from the outside in. But if you let Him change you from the inside out, it'll be perfect. The second thing that taking up the cross symbolizes is sacrifice. Sacrifice. That means giving all you have to worship Him. Giving of yourself until it hurts. Has anybody ever give till it hurts? Has anybody ever done something, ever worked out? You know, anything that you want in life is worth working for. That's what my dad always told me. Anything that you have in life that's worth anything to you is worth working for. That goes for the same in our Christian walk, isn't it? It's worth it. We all know that it's worth it. So it's worth working for. Laying everything out. Sacrifice is about laying everything out before God and saying, everything that I have is yours, Lord. It's not mine anymore. Not even my own body. It's not mine anymore. My own self, it's not mine. I belong to you. I'm one of yours. I commit myself and give myself to you the same as you did for me. You see, He was the supreme sacrifice. He took that cross up for you. He took that cross up for me. He bore that cross for us. Now He's asking in turn that you bear that somewhat for Him. You ask, Micah, how does this tie into I go? How does this tie into I go? Well, here you go this morning. This morning God's speaking to somebody here. This morning God's speaking to someone here telling you to take up that cross. Telling you to take up that cross and follow Him. That cross may be teaching. That cross in your life, it's a hard struggle. It's something that you need to grab a hold of and do. It may be teaching. It may be singing. It may be testifying. It may be greeting somebody at the back door. It may be realigning your priorities. It may be this morning that you're not saved. The Lord's been dealing with you for a while. This morning He's asking you to come and take up that cross and follow Him. It's time for you to respond to Him by saying, I go. It's time for you to respond to Him by saying, okay, I'll go. You know, that cross may be, like I said, it may be teaching, and you've been fighting it. I'm sure that there's enough teachers in here that you said, I feel like I need to do this. I feel like God's calling me. They'll step aside and say, sure, I'll split time with you. I'll split some time with you. If it's singing, as you sing this morning, we've got plenty of time to put some singing in there. If it's testifying, then that's what you need to be doing. If that cross that you need to pick up and bear is maybe getting up in front of people, it's embarrassing. I get nervous as I'll get out. I'm already sweating. Dad still sweats. He's been doing it forever. That cross that you bear with Him is worth it all. Or it may be that you've been calling yourself a Christian for a long while. And you've not been willing to take up that cross. You've been walking around it looking at it. You've been walking around it looking at it. Not willing to move your priorities out of the way and put Him first. Not willing to move yourself out of the way and put Him in front of you. You see, this morning, church, we need to be walking so close to Him that His tracks are still fresh. We need to be walking so closely in His path that the tracks in front of us are still fresh. This morning, He may be telling you to be active in our church. He may be telling you to live closer to Him. He may be giving you the answer that you've been looking for in your life. All you've got to be doing, all you've got to do is be willing to take up that cross and say, I go. You've got to be a willing vessel. You've got to be something that He can use. You've got to be willing to step out and say, I go. You can't be like Jonah. Sometimes God calls us out of our comfort zone. May call us to what we think of into the danger zone for Him. We can't be like Jonah and turn the other way. No. We have to be willing to step up to the plate and say, I go.